beginning of my video. Boom!
Welcome back to Boring Reviews.
Boring land.
Oh, just kidding.
Blasphemer!
Hello,
right.
Boring Review Nation!
Kind of pointless.
We know all things. It was over in a snap.
We really want it. Alright, we'll be nice.
Only you can be a Patreon.
Oh my gosh!
It's crazy.
You don't need to follow the show to be hyped.
All right, welcome back to Boring Reviews. Nick here, and I am ready for a solo review to give you to you today. I am looking at the movie Virus from 2019, just last year. This is another Malayalam film, and I am loving watching and reviewing these films because, you know, they're top-notch movies and because of the awesome reception I'm getting from all of my Malayalam fans and other fans in India and other parts of the world that also enjoy these movies. Definitely a passionate group, a respectful group, and they definitely know a lot about their movies. So this movie, Virus, like I said, it came out last year. It was directed by Aashiq, and it stars a whole lot of people. It stars Kunjako Babin, Parvathy T, Asif Ali, Tovino Thomas, and I'm looking for, Soubin Shahir. I saw him at the very end. He played an awesome character at the end there. But I'm looking for one more actor, the same guy from Kumbalangi Nights. There he is, Sreenath Bhasi, who played Bonnie. He is, Abib in this movie. So, Virus. This movie is so relevant to today. And again, it was just last year. This isn't an old movie. This movie is so relevant to what's happening today, it's not even funny. It was a little eerie, actually, as I was watching this movie, how relevant. I did a reaction to this trailer months ago when we still had like 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers, and I was just getting into Indian films. I had no idea it was Malayalam. I didn't know the difference, to tell you the truth. I was just emerging and getting into these films. And I was, I watched it, and I'm like, oh, man, reminds me of Contagion a little bit. That movie is just crazy. That would be horrible if that happened in real life. And I mean, this was just a few months ago, not a month. This is like 6 or 7 months ago, and here we are. It's just crazy. Maybe it wasn't even. Maybe it was 4 or 5 months ago. I don't know. But this film, that's the biggest thing about it, is it's so relevant. Everyone's watching Contagion. Everyone's watching Outbreak. I haven't seen Outbreak in a forever long time. I haven't seen Contagion in a few years. I didn't really love either of those films. These virus-type movies are not my favorite, but this one is so relevant. You've got to check it out. It's on Amazon Prime. And this movie, there's just so much to talk about. And I guess that is going to be my biggest complaint. I'm going to complain right off the bat. I know a lot of you are going to turn me off right away and swipe me out of here and forget you and thumbs down. But just hear me out. There's a lot going on in this film, even though this movie, the plot is very simple. There is a case of Naipa, and this is based on, from my understanding, a real event that really happened in certain areas in southern India. I'm going to double check right now before I put my foot in my mouth. And, I mean, look at all these actors. There's so many actors. This film is based on the 2018 Nipah virus outbreak in Kerala. Yeah, so in that state where Malayalam films are made. And so it's very close to home. They made it because of that. They didn't make it because they knew the coronavirus was going to be a big deal. But this is based on a true story. But it's about how the Nipah outbreak happened, and it wasn't a global thing like we have right now. In the movie, you'll see how they were able to contain it and the steps that they took, and I don't want to give any of that away because this is still relatively a new film. But because it's based on a true story, that gives it a lot of clout. But it's based just on that virus outbreak and people who are coming in contact. It's highly contagious. And a lot of this movie takes place in 1 or 2 hospitals in this area. And it takes place with those healthcare workers who are serious heroes in this movie and serious heroes right now in real life, the people that are putting themselves literally on the front lines, just like our soldiers do in combat, because they can contract this disease, this sickness, just becoming in contact, and they're doing it to try to help people and save lives, and they're definitely doing it and helping so many people by what they're doing. It's amazing. This movie definitely tapped into a lot of that, and you have a lot of healthcare workers in this movie, these characters who contract the disease because they just happen to be there. And that was the craziest part near the end, so the whole film is them trying to find out where is that first patient, patient 0, patient X, whatever you want to call them, that index patient, where this is the person who started the outbreak, so to speak. They got it from somewhere, we're not sure where, but they got it. Now, Nightbot is, from what they say in this movie, is a virus that has been around in times of the past. And so, not just that, but this was a deadly virus, 70 to 80% kill rate. Meaning if you got it, you had a 7% chance of dying from it. That's scary. That's crazy. Luckily, what we're dealing with right now, the percentages aren't that high. Could you imagine? That would be insane. But this movie is all about them trying to figure it out and trying to eliminate it at its core so they can, contain it. I don't want to say eradicate it, but they can contain it. There's no vaccines they know of. There's experimental things that they get from Australia later on in the film that they're willing to use near the end of the movie, but they don't have like a medicine they can go to. And so my biggest complaint with this movie is there's so much, even though it's a simple plot. And maybe it was just the different language and all the subtitles, but it was hard to keep up for the 2 hours and 40 minutes of this movie because they were talking so fast, and it's a lot of medical jargon and terminology, not my level or field of expertise. But I found myself just even rewinding too, like not being able to keep up and understand all that's being said. And my biggest complaint is that, I guess I got two of them. The second one is the pacing, the direction of this film. It was tough for me to understand all the things that's happening because it just gives you so many different scenes, so many different things are going on, so many different small conversations, and you're getting into the middle of each of these, not getting the full conversation. Some of those is meant because they're going to give you flashbacks later on, and some of them are meant just to introduce a character here or there, but there's so many characters, so many names, so many words I did not understand I'm trying to read on the subtitles, so many situations that for me, it was hard for me to fully digest this film as I normally do. And that's the best way I can explain it. And I understand that even in 2.5 hours, there's a lot of story that they want to tell, and they want to be true to what actually happened. They want to be respectful, and they want to tell a whole story, and that's great. And they did. That was one of the strengths. They told a whole story. But it was hard for me to keep up. I was lost a lot of the time for the first hour and 10 minutes. I was very, very lost, and I had seen faces that were familiar, and there was nurses that were going down and flashbacks of other nurses and flashbacks of other characters. And I had a hard time realizing, okay, this person got sick. Why am I seeing him right now? Oh, wait, that's a flashback. Why are they talking about him? Oh, wait, that's his brother. And it was just very hard for me. And I'm not sure for others that don't speak, is it Malayali? That language. I wonder how it was for them as well. Because it was very, very tough for me. Excuse me. But where this movie shined is in a lot of different areas. This movie definitely painted the picture of how horrible it would be for this virus to happen. And again, we're living in it right now. So I was able to relay real life experiences from what I see in the news, what I hear from people that I know that have gotten it, luckily not seriously, but have gotten the virus and have survived it or are doing very well as they're not showing too many symptoms, but how other people we're hearing about are really struggling from it. You're able to relate to it, and they did a great job of painting that picture without knowing that we were all going to live it just a few months later after this movie was released. The score, the music, but mostly the score in this film definitely played a huge role at intensifying certain scenes, at making scenes more dramatic, at making scenes more emotional, and at times helping me better understand the story because the music would slow down to a more somber note where it would let me know, okay, pay attention, something somber is happening, or would elevate. And most movies have scores like this, but this one seemed like there was so many different individual tracks that played an important role. So the music was fantastic. I mentioned the direction wasn't my favorite, so I'm not going to lie and say the director was great. I'm sure he's a great director. I'm sure a lot of you are going to get upset with me by saying that, but it is my opinion. The direction was tough for me. I did not like the way it was paced out. Even the writing, there was this script must have had about 100, 150 pages of dialogue in it. It really had to have. And from what I hear, usually 50 to 80 might be the norm. So to have more than 100 pages of dialogue in a script is maybe just a little too much. And there was just so much being said, so many characters that we didn't really get too much exposition on, and other characters, they just talked forever. So one of the main characters, for example, about the mix-up of characters and what's going on, we have one of the characters play his Dr. Suresh Rajan, chief doctor, played by Kunchako Boban. And he did a fine job in his role. All these actors did a fine job. The acting was very, very good. Actually, really, really good. The acting was phenomenal. But his character, most of what we see is him sitting down, just spitting off all this information. And his character is playing the purpose of letting us know what's going on around and what they're doing and what happened. But he's just getting this information in a short amount of time. How did he get all this information? How do you investigate this? And he's just, every time we see his character, he's just spitting off paragraphs worth of more information, things that are hard for me to understand because I even know the area. They're talking about different cities and different places and different characters. And for me, I just didn't like that character most of this movie because every time I saw him, I felt like, okay, I'm going to get a little bored right here because he's going to give me a lot of information I'm not going to be able to understand or digest all of it. His character definitely redeems himself later on in the movie, and maybe I'm just really dumb and maybe I'm just really slow, and that loss in translation was a big part of it. But finally, within the last 45 minutes to an hour, I finally understood what he was doing, and I understand what he was trying to do, and they were trying to find that index patient. And then it made a lot more sense why we kept going to him. But I wasn't sure because we have this hospital, looks like there's a strike going on before anyone knows about the outbreak, and they're trying to find workers. And then you have people who, are they a doctor, are they a nurse, or are they just volunteering to work? And they have to make some money. And one guy's thinking about his future. If we can get through this, it's going to help me get a state job later on in this kind of role, so I've got to go to work. And the kids are worried. And you have all these different families and all these different patients they're talking about, and Pradeep, and all these different characters. And I had a hard time keeping up with all of that. As far as the good, like I said, the score is fantastic. The acting was fantastic. The story that it does tell us, especially the last hour, is top-notch. I love the last hour of this film. I wish we kind of got more of that style where it slowed things down and it let things breathe and let things happen. We have Soubin Shahir. He was awesome in Kumbalangan Nights, played Saji. He was... I'm trying to remember if he was in Jolly Katu. I'm not sure if I remember seeing him in it. But this actor is awesome. I compared him to Nawaz. And some people didn't like that comparison because they said, no, they're all the two different actors. What I'm saying is you have a whole lot in a small package. This guy, he's not much taller than me. He's probably a little smaller than I am. I'm not a very tall guy. But he has a serious acting range. He has the ability to show himself as someone you do not want to mess with. And that's hard to do just by presence alone. And he has that presence. And we don't even see this guy till the last 40 minutes. And when I see him, I'm like, oh, this guy, he's awesome. And he plays this dark character who's going through this sickness as well. And he's not handling. He's very agitated. He's kind of an agitated guy, a shisty guy who plays a big role in this whole story. He did a fantastic job. And I was really invested in his character, even though he was kind of a punk, because he portrayed it so well. The guy that played Bonnie, his brother from Kumbalangan Nights, did a great job. I didn't understand that character for the first 45 minutes. I didn't understand the Sarah character. I mean, she's with him. I don't know, like, are they on the outs? Are they not? Did they ever date? Are they getting divorced? I had no idea what was going on. There was a lot of tension between the two, and they didn't really have any chemistry at all. Maybe that was a big problem with those two actors. But he's picking her up from somewhere, walking her somewhere, saying he has to go to work. She gets mad. He tries to give her a kiss. She slaps him, and then she goes on her bikes and leaves. And the next time we see her, she's passed out on the floor. Now, obviously, it's because she has the virus and she got knocked out because of it, but it happened so fast. And so I'm thinking, how did she contract that so fast? Did she get it from him? He just gave her a hug, or he was with her for a few minutes. And like there was just a lot of that were unanswered questions. For me, when this movie started getting better in that last hour, last 45 minutes, I'm trying to find this actress's name, is when a certain character, Anu, I think is her name. Yes, Anu, played by Parvathy Thiruvothu. When she showed up in full force and I didn't even know she was a doctor. I thought she wasn't a doctor. When she showed up and she did her investigation, and I hope this is the right person, she really brought me into the film because that's the part that I really started to understand. And it was really interesting what she was trying to figure out. Because basically you have the hospital staff, you have the defense people from the government coming in trying to figure out where's this coming from. Is this weaponized? If it is, we're going to take over and, make things a whole lot worse. Is this just from organically from animals, or is this from different countries? Where is this coming from? And she's able to investigate to try to figure out before it gets worse, before the government sends in their people to possibly make things worse. Her investigation was very interesting, and it was my favorite part. Her part, Soubin's part, and the second half of Abid's part, all of that was very, very interesting to me. There was different storylines, and two or three too many, but a few storylines that really made me feel something, that really got to me, like the couple that were dealing with the unexpected pregnancy, and the husband's name. I'm really bad at this. I should have had this prepared. I apologize. I cannot remember his name. I mean, I'm just scrolling through all of these characters' names. There's so many of them. But his character, Vishnu and Anjali, that storyline was very interesting, very heartbreaking, very sad, but it definitely had me interested. When they find out where this came from, that was also very interesting. I did like the character that had the Instagram story and took the picture of the creature. Guess this creature. Reminded me of my Instagram stories of guess what movie I'm watching. That was kind of funny. I liked that character's story. I felt really sad for what happened to him and his family and his mom. And she's like, is everyone going to hate my son? Probably. A lot of great visuals, as you would expect from Malayalam films, like with all the different colored bags of all the trash just piling up because the world stopped. There's a lot of other great visuals when they go into the country and you get to see the great scenery, even though it's a very sad film. So many other great visuals within the hospital and that kind of dark and that dreary tone of how they got things going on. There's just so much to talk about, and it's hard for me to coherently just explain it in just a few breaths here. But overall, I enjoy this movie more than I dislike this movie. This is my least favorite of the Malayalam films. I'd put Kumbalangi Nights, Jallikattu, and then this film. And where Jallikattu, even though it was a weakness at first, became a strength where it was just nice and simple. And let's just marinate with these characters. This one kind of did the exact opposite, where there's just too many characters, too many storylines, too much for me to keep up with. But what I was able to keep up with, I really enjoyed. So I'm sure if I knew the language, I would have enjoyed it a whole lot more. But as always, I got to be honest. So I'm going to go ahead and grade this film. I'm going to grade Virus. It was really also hard to watch because of what's going on right now. So they did a great job at predicting how human life would happen. They had quarantine. They had social distancing. They had play it very, very safe and close things down and no, don't go there. All of that was very interesting. You know, everyone with the mask and all the stuff covered up, all of that. And, you know, we're running out of ventilators. We're running out of medical supply. I mean, all of that was just so indicative of what we're going through right now. So prophetic. It was crazy. But for overall tone, for overall film, for overall my enjoyment of it, I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a solid B. Now, that's going to tick off a lot of people, and if you're one of them, I'm sorry, but I've got to be honest. There was too much, and I think we need to eliminate a few of the storylines. Now, if each of those storylines related to an actual family that this happened to, and different names, obviously, but was part of the real-life thing, I understand why not include all that, because I'm sure they did a lot of homework. They did a lot of interviews, and they said, we got to have this person, we've got to have this person. This is going to tell this story, this is going to tell that story. And when Anu started to tell us a story and all the pictures of that one CCTV footage inside the hospital wing, that made a lot of sense while we have so many characters. But for me, it definitely hindered my enjoyment for the first hour and 10 minutes. So a solid B is my grade for this film. Let me know if you agree with any of my points. Some of you are going to slaughter me, and that's okay. That's the nature of the beast. But let me know what your favorite parts were that I did not mention. Let me know what your grade is and why it's that grade. Let's have that conversation. I enjoy talking about movies with you. That's why I started this YouTube channel and why my friends and my wife are part of it. We like to have those conversations with you, so please feel free to engage and talk about us. I hope you enjoy this review, even though, without Gabe here, a little more monotone, without Jody, a little more monotone, but I hope you enjoyed my thoughts. If you did, let me know by liking. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe and check out some other Malayalam reviews that I have. Jolly Katu, Kumbalanga Nights. We have a song reaction, Kumbalanga Nights song, and we have some trailer reactions. Trailer reaction for this one. Go ahead and check that out to see what my initial thoughts are just from the trailer. Don't forget, we have a shirt store now. This is not one of the shirts. I'm still waiting for our shirts to come, and then we'll start wearing them. But go ahead and check that out below in the link below. And until next time, come back for more. Adios.